Charlie Kirk. Racist bastard. Piss on your ashes. Spit on your grave. I'll never be a slave.
His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk.
Right. So here we go again with yet another example of elected Democrats like AOC and Ilhan Omar, but there are others immediately raising the temperature about 2 seconds after telling the rest of America that we needed to turn down the temperature in our politics after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I don't think that's all that surprising, and I think the reasons here are obvious when you take a look at the current behavior of their own voters and supporters nationwide. And this is something we've been calling out from the day that it happened, which is that when Democrats went out and said that we condemn violence, you have to notice how vague and broad of a statement that is. These people have never once acknowledged that the violence actually came from the left. As a matter of fact, they were constantly promoting conspiracy theories to the contrary. They have yet to acknowledge the political identity or motive behind Tyler Robinson, much less ever offer a wider condemnation of the very radical, violent, oftentimes mentally ill activist base on the political left that is repeatedly committing the acts of violence, whether that's the rioting, the assaults in the streets, the political assassinations, you name it. And that should seem awfully perplexing for a political party who's claiming that they're so moderate and sensible, right? After all, when it comes to Tyler Robinson, many people brought up, oh, he never voted or registered as a Democrat. Again, we never said he was a Democrat. We said he was a radical leftist. But as you can clearly see, the reason why Democrats will not condemn the radical left, much less the opposite, actually, they're going out and appeasing these people, egging them on, allowing them and encouraging them to do what they do, is because the truth is there is not much of a distance or difference between the Democrat Party and the radical left. The radical left, these revolutionary socialists, the communists, the Antifa, the trans and queer armed militias, are simply acting as a paramilitary force to intimidate the opposition and ultimately get the Democrats' job done for them, the dirty work, without having to directly be a part, right, of the political party. And to me, that seems extremely clear, and the reason why, for instance, today, you saw the radical left Democrat elected politicians like AOC, like Ilhan Omar, I believe Jasmine Crockett also were in favor of this, all got together and 58 House Democrats voted against a resolution to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. Again, remember, these are the people who say we condemn political violence. We're not crazy. But let's also play into the very exact rhetoric and behavior that our deranged online and, antisocial radical supporters out there are saying. So we'll talk about this. I'll show you what AOC is saying. I'll show you how the rhetoric out of characters like this is fully matching what you're seeing from insane left-wing radicals, black nationalists, other types of characters out in the streets. And again, hopefully to paint for you that further picture of what is going on here, the close hand-in-hand alliance and relationship between the violent revolutionary leftists and the so-called moderate neoliberal Democrat Party who are acting one in one here. So that said, guys, we'll get into it. First, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Your support here is greatly appreciated. And with that said, here are those details. Again, today, 58 House Democrats vote against a resolution to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. And it's really like, yeah, what's going on there?
Well, we just got some breaking news here, Chad, that Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats, the House Democrats, just voted yes. He's a yes on honoring Charlie Kirk, and AOC just voted no. So there is the divide right there within the Democratic Party on a resolution that really should be bringing everyone together. Thank you, Chad Pergram, live on the Hill for us with that breaking news. Let's bring in Shannon Bream now. Give us your take on, this is a resolution that is very simple. Very easy to understand, and there it is. It's final now. Let's listen in.
Voting present are 38. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
There it is. It has passed in the House, this resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. Shannon, your takeaway on this divide we're looking at right now on the House floor, where Democrats couldn't move themselves to vote yes on this.
Well, and you've got several of them out there that are publicly saying that they think of Charlie's legacy as something much different than Republicans do. We talked about this with the speaker on Fox News Sunday, and some comments from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who has said, you want to call people's bleep out on this. They're trying to rewrite his legacy and calling him a hateful person. Republicans will say, go watch his clips, the things he's being accused of, racism and bigotry and these other things. You'll see that melt away if you watch the conversations he had with people. They were uncomfortable, they were difficult, but he was laughing, he would hug people. They feel like he's been mischaracterized, and so for that respect, they say this is a resolution that everyone should be able to vote for. But you mentioned some of the key players like AOC, for example. We talked earlier about her potentially running in 28 or running for the Senate or running for the White House. So the party very much has to decide what it is moving forward. Is it more progressive? Is it more moderate? Is it establishment? I mean, this vote would suggest that there's really not a lot of common ground.
Now, I got to be honest, me personally, I don't think it's really all that complicated. It's not about establishment or progressive or all of these things. It's a very simple question of, do you condemn political violence sincerely or do you not? Are you going to look at the victim of political violence and spit on his grave before he's even in the grave? Or are you not going to do those things? And again, look at the chain of command here. So Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries votes yes. He's the leader of the party. He's trying to seem more moderate. But he's perfectly fine, and he allows his radical 58 members here to vote no on the resolution. And will Hakeem offer a condemnation of them? No. Will those radicals offer a condemnation of the violent activists that keep causing problems in this country? Absolutely not. Because again, whether you want to break it down about establishment, progressive, far left, notice how the Democrat Party and the kind of Leviathan operating around it, whether it's these left-wing NGOs or these far-left Antifa-style terror groups or whatever it is, are all acting here in unison. There is no distance, and no, this is not a both sides issue. Because Republican politicians, anytime something happens from the far right, are immediately rushing to condemn not just violence, but it's immediately what? White supremacy, neo-Nazis, even like groups like Patriot Front. No, we're not associated, right? Republicans make that very clear. Democrats always stay ambiguous about this stuff. Do you notice that? Do you notice how when they talk about Antifa, Antifa's not even real? Right? What did Joe Biden say? It's just an idea. That just means you're anti-fascist. It's definitely not an actual group of like black bloc terrorists out here in the streets doing this stuff, right? Right? See what's going on here? I want you to keep all of these themes in mind because it's very important to understand like how the Democrat Party operates and what its relationship is here with these radical left morons. That said, I want you to take a listen now to Miss We Condemn Violence, Turn Down the Temperature, AOC herself, just days after Charlie Kirk was indeed killed by this left-wing lunatic, what her disgusting justification was for voting no on this resolution. So let's tune in.
Instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake. Who, after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi, claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant. And accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country. all in the name of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, so needless to say, a total misrepresentation of Charlie Kirk's views. He never advocated for segregation. I've heard him talk about the Civil Rights Act. That's not his gripe with it. His gripe is the way the equity doctrine is basically used to enforce a civil rights violation, essentially, if you do not have certain DEI quotas or affirmative action or things like that. But forget that. I mean, she doesn't care. The overall theme here is what? And she's doing the same exact thing that the radical left right now is doing, which is they will put words into your mouth that you never said, attribute and attach beliefs to you that you don't have, and then justify that as the excuse for murdering you. Right? Charlie Kirk deserved it because he was a Nazi. Here's what he believed. Oh, but he wasn't a Nazi and he didn't believe those things. Well, too late. He's dead. This is their behavior. And AOC might again say that I don't condemn political assassinations. I don't condone, I should say, political assassinations. But when you're parroting the same exact thing as the people who do, and you're known to be a further left member of Congress, you have to wonder what's going on there. And what audience right now are you speaking to, by the way? Do you think that normal Americans, even like center left, maybe independent Democrat leaners, are necessarily a big fan of that speech, right? They're enjoying watching you dunk on a guy's grave, essentially? No. But there is a very radical base of people out there, of mentally ill, revolutionary lunatics, who you are appealing to in this speech, and you know exactly what you are doing at the moment. And that's the truth. The same is true of Ilhan Omar, who recently was caught in a leaked video saying, and I quote, "I do believe those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of blank." And essentially just goes on here. It hasn't even been a week by the time this has happened. I'm not sure, is this a mosque or something like that? Or, I don't know, a town hall, whatever it is. But here she is. So take a listen.
I said that the people who were full of shit were the people who were saying that Kirk was civil. Thank God. No, that's not true. The person who called for public execution of people he disagreed with is not civil. The person who said...
Okay, first of all, he never said that. I don't know. Again, what am I saying? They literally are putting words in your mouth and then shooting you based on that. And then the central declaration here as well is if you have ideas that Ilhan Omar disagrees with, or they're even right of center of Ilhan Omar, then by definition, if you set up and try to have a civil debate, you're actually not being civil because you disagree with me. So that's what we're dealing with. And again, right, this is what we've heard all week by the left. This is an elected member of Congress. So don't ever tell me the Democrat Party truly condemns the crazy stuff. Here's one of them right now, She's not Antifa lover 69 on X or Blue Sky, okay? This is a congresswoman.
You are a black woman, you lack the ability to process thoughts. It's not simple. The person who said, because I am Muslim, I cannot be in this country because I want to destroy Western society is not simple.
Well, actually, you do want to destroy Western society, so that part is true. But even then, the nature of being civil or not, again, has nothing to do with what you believe. It's the way you approach the debate. So here she is going again, parroting the same exact garbage about essentially speech is violence, right? Charlie Kirk spoke violence into existence by being hateful, and being hateful means disagreeing with Ilhan Omar. So, again, no separation between Democrat Party here, radical left here. There's a bridge right there, and they're walking across it constantly.
The person who said a 10-year-old should be forced to carry the child of her rapist is not civil. You I do believe those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit.
Thank you.
And notice as well, in that entire clip, not once does she offer an actual condemnation of the situation. Same thing when she was on, Mehdi Hassan's show, I think, just a couple days ago. This is a repeated trend from her, right? Here's another great example of Benny G. Thompson, who is a House Democrat that voted against the resolution. And here's his justification. Today I voted against the Charlie Kirk resolution. While I condemn his violent murder, oh, do you? While I condemn his violent murder, this resolution sought to elevate Charlie Kirk as a role model I could not support in good conscience. Read my full statement below. Right, no one should be killed for what they believe, but Mr. Kirk was not a good guy. He was divisive, disparaging, and often rooted in grievance. Oh, that's ironic. a liberal or leftist is accusing someone else of having politics rooted in grievance. Okay. So, you know, he normalized fringe views, all of these things. So he wasn't a good guy, and that's why he would not vote for this resolution. Okay. But he did vote for the George Floyd bill. Yeah. You can see from 2021. Happy to see George Floyd bill pass in the House. We will continue to do our part. So let's get this straight. A conservative activist who is a Christian, who loved his family, loved his wife, lived out what he preached, etc., etc., you know, that's too far. That should not be a role model to Americans. That's why I can't vote for the resolution honoring his life. But who is the left-wing hero, as we're all familiar, was a violent criminal drug addict who put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach and many other, you know, bad and reprehensible things in life. That's the martyr, apparently. Or Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? That's a role model that the left believes in. Now, you could here's the thing, too. You can have the counter argument. I know what some people are going to come with. I can foresee it. Oh, it's not about honoring George Floyd as a person. He was a victim of police brutality. That's what this is about. He shouldn't have died from that whole thing, or even though that's kind of not what the coroner said. But whatever. I understand their point. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, leftists keep telling me, it's not about saying he was a good guy. It's about the fact that we respect his due process. Oh, so wait a minute. Does that not also mean that Charlie Kirk's, you know, resolution or whatever is not about whether you think he was a good guy? It's about he was a victim of, guess what? Political violence. So then why can't you vote for it? Just for the sake of condemning political violence. Because deep down, that's how the Democrats actually feel about things, right? George Floyd and Kilmar Abrego Garcia actually are their role models. They are exactly the type of Americans that, number one, they want to appeal to, and number two, think should be running loose all over our society. Very much explains, by the way, their crime and social policies. That's exactly what they want. They want all of the violent MS-13 illegal aliens into this country, not a conspiracy theory. They literally did that. They do that. They currently defend it happening. And they want all of the violent urban criminals to just be let out of jail and running free on the streets and stabbing and attacking people, because that is actually also what their criminal justice policies in their own cities are doing, right? So this is, again, the Democrat Party just showing its true colors, right? Demonstrating to us who they are. They're not coy about it. And no, it's not about, you don't think Charlie Kirk was a role model, because I've seen how you talked about George Floyd. I've seen how you talked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Before that, it was who? You know, Trayvon Martin, many other characters throughout the years, freaking Che Guevara, right? It goes on and on. It goes on and on, you know? So there you have it. And when you look at the type of garbage coming out of AOC, Ilhan, and all these, you know, Democrat House members, I want to compare that to a rather insane protest that we saw from some far left individuals. I'm not sure exactly what group they are. I don't know if they're black nationalists or communists or something like that, some liberation movement. But last night, Hawk Newsome and these people led a chant saying "F Charlie Kirk" as 50 protesters marched through Manhattan, right? So again, pretty deranged, pretty mask off, but this is what they're doing now.
Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Racist bastard! Racist bastard! Piss on your ashes! Piss on your ashes! Spit on your grave! Spit on your grave! I'll never be a slave! 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 Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Racist bastard! Racist bastard!
Oh, and by the way, in rather typical fashion, because these insane activists have a pattern of doing the same thing over and over again, looks like the protest ended in some type of violence or chaos after police had to break it up and separate people. Not sure exactly what's going on here, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. You know, they're just causing a bunch of problems. You know why? Because they're not upstanding members of society. If this behavior wasn't enough, how about the words they're saying out loud? F Charlie Kirk, piss on your grave, or piss on your ashes, spit on your grave. Just deranged, right? It really is. As I said, when people were vandalizing memorials and stuff too, I think it really does take a special level of evil inside or mental derangement to essentially go out and, like, yeah, desecrate someone's grave. Like, I'll give you the example of that, right? Say there's someone, you know, in life that you were rivals with, or you didn't get along, a strange relative, you really did not like this person, right? Or say it's a political figure, like, say, George Soros were to pass away or something like that. So no one is saying you have to mourn that person or go to their funeral or whatever. That's one thing. It's another thing to, for example, show up to their grave and spit on it, or show up to the funeral, as many people did with these Charlie Kirk memorials, essentially what they're doing here, and just start vandalizing the place, just start screaming in the middle of the service, hey, F that guy, I hated him, he was the worst. It's like, I don't even care how much I resent someone. That's just not something that would even cross my mind to do, right? Like, even if the person, again, I genuinely despised in life, it's just not, like, the person is dead, right? You leave it, right? That's what normal people do. There's a reason why, for instance, grave robbing or desecration of the dead was historically considered to be one of the most, like, evil and just low down degenerate crimes in human history. Yet here you have a bunch of people this sick in the head that that's what they're doing, right? And again, will you hear any condemnation of this garbage from the Democrat Party? No, you won't. As a matter of fact, Ilhan Omar and AOC are directly trying to appeal to people like this. That's why their rhetoric and their behavior seems so similar. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, right? Let's see AOC condemn Hawk Newsome saying, look, maybe saying piss on Charlie Kirk's grave and spit on his grave is like a little bit too far. You're never going to get it. You're never going to get it. Because that's what this is, right? And even Hakeem Jeffries, the truth is, he's not controlling the radical left. The radical left is controlling him, you know? He has no power to shut this down. He wants to keep these people in the party. He won't censure AOC. He won't call this stuff out. The best he can do is just stand there helplessly and say, I'm not sure if I endorse Zoran Mandani or not, right? So, you know, if you're going to vote in the midterms, just remember this, right? Remember that and understand this is exactly who the Democrat Party is. And oh, by the way, we see even the more mainline ones like Maxwell Frost out of Florida immediately. Now, you know, again, we're supposed to turn down the temperature, right? Going back immediately to calling us Nazis and dangerous and fascist and all that stuff. What else is to be expected, right? So with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. What do you think of the behavior here? Are you surprised? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.